welcome to the long-awaited January wrap-up. It's already like halfway through February, I know, but here it is! Yay! Drum roll, here are all the books I read in January. Let's get started! So the first book I finished in February was Faust Part 1 by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I actually started this book at some point last year and I somehow just didn't finish it. I was like 15 pages off the end and then just left it at that. Well, I finally finished it and I really enjoyed it. If you didn't know, this is a very famous German classic about a guy who basically sells his soul to the devil. Essentially, that's what it's about. And it's really good. I can see why it's famous. I still have to read part 2. This is just the beginning stages where everything is still going well. And yeah, I like it. I like Goethe's way of talking, and I also realized that if you live in a German-speaking country, I should have marked it because now I don't remember where it was, but there is a slogan in one of the drugstores that is basically taken from this book, and when I realized that, I was like, oh my god. Somehow I found that very funny. The next book I read is also something that I finished in January but not necessarily started. It's Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. Actually Murakami Haruki, because I study Japanese now and that means I have to say it properly. And in Japan you say the surname first, so it's Murakami Haruki. And yeah, this is my first book by Murakami that I've actually started and finished, because I've read the first book from Ichikyo Hachiyon already. Well, it's actually a book by itself, but yeah, the trilogy 1Q84, I read book 1 already, and it didn't really have a definite ending, so I was like, I have no idea what to think of this. Because it kind of just moves on into book 2, and this one I really enjoyed, I have to say. It was slightly slow at times, it was. I honestly don't know what it is, but there's something about books that were translated from Japanese into English that just irks me. There's something about that just like twists and contorts the atmosphere to something that I'm like, this is wrong, something's off here. And I don't know if it's simply the fact that it is translated, or if it's the fact that it's translated from Japanese specifically, or if it's the style of writing of the two authors that I've read so far that were originally Japanese. I don't know what it is, but there's something that's just not right, and it bugs me. It really bugs me, and I can't wait to read something like a proper book in Japanese at some point, just so I can clear up that very mystery, because it just annoys me to no end. But I definitely can recommend this book. I thought it was nice and slightly like pessimistic, I guess, and the ending I was just like, why can't you make me a little bit happier? After Norwegian Wood, exam season, or like the season where I was supposed to start studying for exams, had sort of started, and from there on I read basically just like fun books, just books that were purely fun, and because I needed to get my mind off of university. And so the first books I read, I like marathoned them in under a week, I think, because they make you so addicted. And it's the, if I can lift it without breaking everything, it's the Parasol Protectorate Quintet by Gail Carriger. As you can see, it is falling apart, which is okay because I never keep them in their box sets in my shelves anyway, it doesn't matter, but I'm still not happy about it, as you might be able to imagine. The first book, Solace, is about Alexia Terabati, who is soulless, which means she doesn't have a soul, oh my god. But essentially in this world, having soul or no soul basically just means that people with a lot of soul are usually very creative and artistic types, and if somebody like a werewolf or a vampire tries to turn them, they can't turn because they have excess soul basically that allows them to survive the transition. And if people have not enough soul, they will die basically. And if you have no soul like Alexia does, she can, by touching supernatural creatures, which by the way also includes ghosts, because that's also a thing in this universe, by touching them they basically get stripped of their supernatural abilities and turn human for the duration of their contact, physical contact. And if she touches a ghost's body that is like lying somewhere, she'll actually exorcise them and they'll like disappear and never come back. Yay! Fun times. No, honestly, this book is super hilarious. I love Gail Carriger's style of writing, I do. The book basically kicks off with Alexia accidentally killing a vampire because he attacks her, he touches her, he loses his vampiristic abilities, and she kills him because she's badass. And yeah, basically people are not happy about it because this society is sort of like a very nicely and finely balanced thing where supernatural creatures live together with humans in one world, and the balance of power and, you know, acceptance of one another is quite frail, so you shouldn't kill a vampire, let's put it that way. The main investigator on the case is Lord Mackin, who's a werewolf, and they kind of there's confrontation, some pleasant, some less pleasant. Yeah, as you might imagine, yeah, things happen, awesome, I ship them so much. One more thing I forgot to mention is that everything is set in sort of a steampunky London of the like 1800s, I believe, and it's just amazing. Like, I love the societal things, like the kind of gossip and that sort of thing as its own genre is amazing. I love that. I love, like, you know, historical Victorian sort of times stories. So that's awesome. The steampunk element is awesome and really thought out. Like, in all the books, like, all the steampunk elements are so, like, described in such a detailed way where I'm like, I can't follow this because it's very complex. I can't even picture it in my head, but oh my god, Miss Carriger, good job on picturing it yourself and making it such a priority for these books, because they are primarily fun. You know, there's nothing like substantial to these books, but they're so fun and they're still so thought through that I just love them so much. The other books are then Changeless, Lameless, Heartless, and finally Timeless. And as I said, I read them all in under a week. I really enjoyed all of them. I was still kind of pretty much in the midst of studying when I finished the last book, so the next one I read was again something that wasn't very challenging for my brain. I read Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This book is a fae story, which I don't think I've read any fae stories before. This book follows Michaela, who lives in Georgia, I believe, I don't know, some sort of southern state in the USA, and her sister is murdered while she studies abroad in Dublin, and then she goes to Dublin herself to figure out what happened to her, and she finds out that she's a she-seer. I don't know, I don't speak Gaelic. It's basically humans who can see fae because they disguise themselves as really beautiful beings, beautiful humans, and essentially they're really rotten and they're really ugly and horrifying monsters underneath. But I don't actually think that that's a very unique concept. If I remember correctly, the whole Mortal Instruments series had like a similar take on fairies, didn't they? This book is very bad. It's really bad. My main problem with this book was probably Michaela herself, because she's the most annoying, stupidest, just I want to punch her in the face kind of heroine. I really hated her, like, so much. I really hated her. She keeps saying, I'm not a Barbie, but I might look like one and behave like one. Like, but I'm not a Barbie. People don't take me seriously. Because she has, like, blonde hair and fake nails and a perfect body, and just like she dresses up for the most menial things to go out and do the most stupid things. I'm like, I don't give a shit. She's really annoying and the kind of human that I don't like in real life, so of course I'm not gonna like her in this book. And even if she herself states that that's a little bit ridiculous, doesn't make it okay. So I hated her just so much. Hated her. Also, there's like a guy in the picture at some point that I just don't ship her with at all, because he has no personality to speak of, and the story is really boring and like really like I don't. Ooh, revelation, but actually I don't care because I have not given a shit since page 10. So no, I'm not gonna continue the series. No, I do not recommend it. Don't know why people like it. However, I do have to add that while reading this book, I felt like compelled to keep reading. Maybe that's a redeeming quality. I hated everything that I was reading. I was like, this is horrible, this is horrible. But somehow I couldn't stop. The next book I read was literally infinitely better. Oh my god, I really love this book. This is probably my favorite book, or one of my favorite books of this month, Of Beast and Beauty by Stacey J. This is an alternate fairy tale retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it's set in a world where there are domes, basically, where humans live under, and then there is the outside of the domes where the monsters live, basically. They're called monstrous, and they have been transformed from too much exposure to sun and just from different energies, because there's like a god entity in this world as well that has sort of influenced both the humans and the monstrous, and they've just changed because of the, basically evolution, I guess, very, very sped up evolution, and they have scaly skin, and they're stronger and bigger and all sorts of things, and obviously they can survive outside, while humans probably wouldn't be able to do that. This book follows Isra, who is princess of one of these domes, and she's kept in a tower, much like Rapunzel, because first of all, she's blind, so people want to protect her, and second of all, she has displayed sort of monstrous tendencies, which tends to happen on the dome. Some people are just born with like tendencies towards being monstrous, like they might have scaly skin or other things wrong with them, and if they do, they're considered outcasts and they have to live on the outskirts of these domes. The only reason she wasn't sent there is because she is princess, and the book is centered around her, symbolizing beauty, as well as Jem, who is a monstrous who with some of his family is trying to break into the dome because the humans there have magic roses, and these roses demand a sacrifice, I think every like 20 years, is it? Something like that, where the queen of the kingdom, this human kingdom, has to sacrifice herself, commit suicide below the roses, in the roses, and the roses will use their magic in exchange for that to help the dome flourish and bring good times, basically. And Jem and his family, they don't know about that very fact, but they do want to know that the roses are responsible for the, wealth and quality of life that the people on the domes have, and they want to steal them. So that's how they sort of run into each other. While Jem tries to steal the roses, he's actually captured, so he has to stay under the dome and work with Isra and pretend to be her friend, so she lets him escape. And yeah, guess what? They fall in love, but it is such a wonderful story because it is very unpredictable. There's a lot of like unknown variables that you don't know about at the very beginning that just sort of come to light as the story goes along. The love part of the story is so far from insta-love. It is amazing. I love how this sort of develops. It really does develop. It's a slow going thing, and they constantly fight it, especially Jem, because he knows this is, his enemy, basically, and who's responsible in part for the suffering of his own people. I especially really love this book's take on beauty as more of a wider concept than a specific thing. How different people will find different things beautiful, how it's relative, and how it's not set in stone. Similarly to that sort of idea of what beautiful means, also there are no clearly good and clearly evil people in this story. Obviously the monsters think that the humans are evil, and the humans think that the monsters are evil, but obviously we get insight into both sides, and we realize that that's not at all the case. And also even the person who turns out to be the villain has redeeming qualities. Everybody has redeeming qualities and has not so heroic qualities, and it's a very, very interesting thing, and it's difficult to root for anybody because that they have reasons for their actions, and you can't completely, fully, 100% hate and despise them, and they show compassion to some people and they show love to some people, while they show really, really evil side of themselves to others. And I really, really like that. I think this is an amazing book. It is so beautifully written. The style of writing in this book is amazing. It's very fairy tale like and just beautiful. Just really beautiful. The world building, the storytelling, the character development, everything in this book is fantastic. I loved it so much. My favorite fairy tale retelling ever, and I absolutely 1,000,000% recommend it because, dude, you do not want to miss out on this, believe me. So while that book was exceedingly beautiful, my final read of January was not. I read Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, which is the last book I still had to read by her. I read both Dark Places and Gone Girl before, and I really liked them. Gone Girl a bit more than Dark Places, and this is my new number 2 in her books because it is almost as good as Gone Girl. Not quite, but it's super close. This book follows Camille Preaker, who is a journalist for a small Chicago newspaper, and her boss tells her to go to her hometown to investigate murders of preteen kids, girls that have been taken place, and she has a lot of issues with her hometown. She barely ever visits. She doesn't have a very good relationship with her family. She has a lot of painful memories stemming from that place, and also she was just in a psych hospital because of her mental issues. I'm gonna say it because it's, you know, it becomes apparent very early in the book that she is a cutter. So basically, she cuts herself, and she's been doing that for a very long time. And for her, it's even a special case because she doesn't just randomly cut herself. She writes words into her skin, and so her entire body is covered in scars and of words, just random words that she's written down. And first of all, that is such an interesting concept. I've never heard of anything like that happening. I don't know if that happens in real life. Well, I guess it could. This entire book, okay, this entire book, you are exposed to really strange people. People that have very weird habits, like weird and twisted habits, and are just so mentally fucked up. It's amazing. I don't even know how you can think of something like that. I don't know if this has happened, if people like that exist, if any people like they are depicted in this book exist in real life, if these mental disorders exist. I really don't know. But what I do know is that Gillian Flynn thought of this. She came up with that, and I couldn't do that. It's so far out of the box, and it's not even things that are very relevant to the story. It's just like the small things. Her characters are such individuals that it's amazing to me. There's never a character twice in one of her books, even crossover. There's no repetition of character traits, and I think that that's amazing. She doesn't follow any stereotypes. All her characters are very unique and very intriguing. This book absolutely fucks with your head and sort of makes you want to quit life. I think that's what I wrote into my Goodreads review, because it is such a dark book, and towards the end you're just like, what? No, I can't deal. Oh my god, this book makes you think and feel all of the things, and definitely read something light afterwards. But I absolutely recommend this book. Oh my god, if you want a good mindfuck, if you want to read about seriously messed up people, read this book. That's it for my January wrap-up. I had an awesome reading month. I read a lot of really fun books, I read a lot of really good books, and only actually one book that I absolutely hated, so that's always a good thing. I hope that February will go just as well. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. And yeah, I'm gonna see you soon. Have a lovely week. Bye!